Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Local News. I'm Jasmine King. Saskatchewan is reporting 8 new cases of COVID-19. There are 2 in the far north, 2 in the central region, 2 in Saskatoon, and 3 in the south. 142 are considered active. 12 people are in hospital, including 3 in intensive care. A total of 813 people have recovered. Preparations are already underway for this November's municipal election, but nothing is set in stone thanks to COVID-19. Eric Bay reports.
With large groups of people entering polling stations this fall to decide the next city council, safety and distancing is key. Moving to completely mail-in ballots is something other communities have been discussing even before COVID-19, but Mayor Gerald Albers says that's not in the city's plans.
That is being looked at in some communities or municipalities in Canada, and I think our community has clearly indicated, as council discussed, they like the option of a mail-in ballot. They like the option of going to vote in a ballot at a polling station. The traditional method, I believe the drive-through method will be well received as well.
Albers says the city is continuing to talk with the province to allow voting to happen safely.
City clerk, working through with other city clerks throughout Saskatchewan, as well as with the chief electoral officer for the province, will ensure that people will be safety of both the workers and voters will be paramount. It may mean 6-foot distancing potentially at the polling station.
The challenge is trying to maintain COVID safety measures while giving residents a chance to vote.
There's been a lot of discussions about trying to accommodate as many people as quickly as possible. So I think people need to stay tuned, and we'll see where COVID takes us. But there will be as much done to ensure the safety of all involved at the front end right through to the finish.
Residents on the Saskatchewan side of the border will have 2 elections this fall, with the provincial election on October 26th and the municipal election scheduled for November 9th. Eric Bay, Primetime Local News.
A new survey is being launched to help the future of the development of the Alberta Iron Horse Trail. Connor Chan has more.
Marianne Janke, the administrative coordinator for Alberta's Iron Horse Trail, joins me today. Marianne, I know there was a survey just released to the public to help improve on what the Alberta Iron Horse Trail could improve upon. So what are some of the main focal points that you're looking for when it comes to the survey?
So the Iron Horse Trail is 17 years old this year. And although our volunteer organization, Riverland Recreational Trail Society, has been really good about, safety issues and maintenance and, getting signage up and stuff like that, we haven't really done a lot with the trail as far as further developing it. So we're still looking at, in most places, it's just a simple gravel bed trail. And we have, pretty rustic services along the trail. Wherever our rest stops are, there's just an outhouse, a fire pit, and a picnic table. And especially since COVID-19, we've been getting a lot of interest in the trail, a lot of people wanting to come out and use it. And of course, it's grown over the last 17 years as well. And so we're taking a look at, as a major tourist attraction for our region, what do we need to do to step it up? What do we need to do to make it more attractive for trail users and more inviting for different trail user types? So right now we allow ATVs, snowmobiles, hikers, bicycles, and then horse riders and wagons on the trail. And of course, you take a look at motorized versus non-motorized users, and their needs are very, very different. And what do we need to do to put in place to accommodate those users and, I guess make it so that it's make it a true multi-use trail, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
What's the one common thing you hear most from people when it comes to the trail specifically?
So I guess there's a couple things. The trail service, so of course, over 300 kilometers and the trail goes through a variety of different, geological places. So for example, in one place we go around Moose Lake or by the Bellis Pine Forest where it's just solid sand. It's impossible to cycle through, and it's pretty hard for like horse and wagon to get through those sandy sections as well. Other sections, it's a little bit deeper gravel. Some of the ballast is still on there, which makes it difficult for hikers. So these types of issues with the trail surface that need to be addressed, or the input that we're looking from the public, or do we just over the 300 kilometers just say, this section, this 50 kilometers from here to here is good for cycling. The rest of the other 50 kilometers is good for ATV use. Do we split it up that way, or do we look at investing and doing a complete trail rebuild where it needs to be to make it usable by non-motorized users? So that's one of them, would be the trail surface. The other one is a bit with the trail amenities, especially in the winter time for snowmobilers, where we have 5 different snowmobile clubs associated with the trail. So we connect to their snowmobile trails as well, which means we have hundreds of miles per kilometers of snowmobile trails. Do we have sufficient warm-up shacks for winter use? Do we have sufficient signage for wayfinding and access into communities? Those are a few of the things that we're hoping to get feedback on.
For yourself, how great is it to see people out there using the trails now that we're in those later stages of the province's reopen plan?
Oh yeah, it's 300 kilometers long is a lot of space to for users to be out there and not have to worry about running into a lot of other people, running into a crowd or anything like that. It's a great family activity. We've got over 1,400 geocaches planted on the trail. It's great for people that, certainly right now there's sections that are really, really good for cycling, hiking, horseback riding, not to mention the ATV use. So yeah, it's a perfect spot to get away from everything for a little while.
And lastly, where can people go if they want to take part in the survey for themselves?
All you have to do is just go to our website, which is ironhorsetrail.ca. The first thing that pops up is the survey link. And we really encourage anybody and everybody that is a trail user, would like to provide some input to us to go onto our website and fill out the survey.
Well, Marianne, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks very much, Jasmine. Taking a look at temperatures right now, 23 degrees right now. We could see some showers possibly later on into the evening, but right now we're sitting at that sun and cloud mix with winds less than 20 kilometers an hour coming in from the south there. As we take a look at temperatures around the region right now, 23 out in Vermilion, Marwayne, and Vegreville, 22 for Edmonton, 23 also out in Bonnyville and Lac La Biche. Cold Lake sitting at 24 degrees, as well as Provo. So we move over into Saskatchewan right now, 24 degrees also out in Maidstone, North Battleford, St. Walburg, and Meadow Lake, 25 also out for Green Lake. So here's what we could see over the next couple of hours right now as we see that activity coming in from that Vegreville, Marwayne area. So we are expecting some thunder showers heading into tonight as well as even into tomorrow, and especially in that Bonnyville up north areas and the Lac La Biche, Cold Lake areas. They're expecting some showers in the coming hours as well as some thunderstorms to follow suit as well. So as we take a look at the temperatures in our region here, a little more in-depth look, 15 degrees in North Battleford overnight with mostly clear skies and a bit of cloud coverage, going into 30 degrees tomorrow with a nice daytime high there as we hit the 30-degree mark there in North Battleford. 14 in Cold Lake overnight with 23 degrees tomorrow with some more showers continuing on throughout the day. And for us here in Lloydminster, 14 degrees overnight with some cloud coverage and 26 degrees for tomorrow. So here's what we could see over the next 3 days right now, 27 for Thursday and 23 for Friday right there. But we could, as I mentioned, we could see those thunder showers for tomorrow as well with that 40% chance of some rain there. We could get up to maybe 5 millimeters of rain expected for Wednesday there with that high there of 26 degrees. But as a first look at your weather forecast, we'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Evan Kenny and Eric Bay take a look at the latest news from the hockey world with the NHL award finalists.
Yesterday, Eric Bay joined myself to discuss some of the NHL award finalists. Today, he's joining me once again to break down a couple more. Eric, how's it going?
Hey, very good. Long time no see, but tons more awards to get to. So excited to get to it.
For sure. And we'll just jump right into things, kicking things off with the Vezina Trophy for top goaltender. Now, the finalists for this were Tuukka Rask, Andrei Vasilevsky, and Connor Hellebuyck. Eric, what are your thoughts? Who do you think should be the winner?
Yeah, I think obviously some very worthy choices and a few guys that we've definitely heard in the conversation before in Vasilevsky there and Tuukka Rask. But for me, I know obviously you can make the argument about what's in front of him, but I think Tuukka Rask has done enough to distance himself from the other guys. And look, obviously he does have a great team. They've completely ran away with the NHL so far, about 10 points ahead of the next best team. So a great season nonetheless. But again, when you're looking at that, I do think the goaltending is a big part of it. Obviously, he may not be seeing some of those more high-risk chances as some of the other goalies, but he's still done his part with a .929 save percentage and a .212 goals against average, which is quite a bit higher than some of those other guys. Over 10 points, I would say, there on the save percentage side of things. So I think if you just look at the stats, he also only has 8 regulation losses. That is less than double digits. So very impressive season. And for me, I think Tuukka Rask has done more than enough, and he's kind of one of those bigger reasons as to why the Bruins are so far ahead, especially in a division where you are facing teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
For myself, Tuukka Rask, obviously unbelievable season. You just mentioned all the numbers, and I mean, the one that sticks out to me is that loss number, how low it is. And I mean, you don't see that very often. But for me, my Vezina winner is Connor Hellebuyck. He was second in save percentage, but he faced the most shots and made the most saves out of those 3 goalies. And actually, out of the entire league, he had the most saves. Plus, I believe he was playing behind the worst team out of the 3 of those goalies. I mean, you look at Boston and Tampa, they're 2 of the powerhouses in the league versus Winnipeg, who, you know, their D-core just got blown up this past summer. And for Hellebuyck to still hold his team in there and give them a fighting chance, I think was something amazing. A team that got blown up as well this summer was the Columbus Blue Jackets. They also have their coach, John Tortorella, up for the Jack Adams Award. That is for the top coaches. Joining him is Alain Vigneault and Bruce Cassidy from the Boston Bruins. Eric, I know what my pick is, and I believe you have the same one, but why don't you just tell us your pick for this award?
Yeah, and obviously for me, this one too is maybe a little bit closer between 2 of the candidates, and you look at Alain Vigneault, and I really do believe that the Philadelphia Flyers were the hottest team in the NHL before the season got shut down. You look at what they've done in past years, kind of underachieved, and Vigneault has come in and done an amazing job getting them where they're really supposed to be, and it's been very impressive. But for me, you mentioned the team got absolutely blown up, the Columbus Blue Jackets this past year. You lose guys like Artemi Panarin, Sergei Bobrovsky, Matt Duchene, even Ryan Zingle. And you just look again at those big names and how that's pretty much 3 bona fide stars and another solid contributor there. That would totally decimate a team, and it really did. But you look at the job that Tortorella has done, losing, you know, a guy who's up for the Ted Lindsay Award conversation, a guy who's won 2 Vezinas, and what he's done to put the Blue Jackets in what would have been the second wildcard spot in the East at the end of the actual season. You can't compare that to anything else that anybody has done in this entire league this season. So for me, Tortorella is the runaway winner for this season.
And I 100% agree with you, Eric. Even just seeing, you know, games lost to injury and the amount of injuries that he had for his defense corps was just insane. He was playing with half an American League roster, and especially at the beginning of the season, I can say personally, I thought they were going to be one of the bottom teams. I thought they, you know, potentially were in the run for Lafreniere. So looking at them from then till now is just absolutely insane. I also give the award to Tortorella. Now our final award we're going to be chatting about is the Selke for Best Defensive Forward. Now up for the award, Ryan O'Reilly, who won it last season, Patrice Bergeron, who's up for his 9th time, and the young gun between the 3 of these, Sean Couturier. Eric, this is a tough one to really decide. You know, there's a lot of non-statistical aspects that come into play for the Selke, but why don't you give us your pick?
Yeah, I mean, again, you mentioned it's kind of hard to quantify it, and you have to really put it to the eye test. You look at these three guys, and particularly a guy like Sean Couture, who when he was drafted had the potential to be number one, slid to 8, and has really developed himself into that bona fide defensive center, one of those top tier guys, very deserving as well. Ryan O'Reilly, obviously, we saw what he's done for St. Louis, particularly last season. But for me, I think, again, you look at a guy like Patrice Bergeron, you mentioned it, 9 seasons he's been nominated. He's close to tying the record with Bob Gainey for the most Selke trophies. And I think this is the year that he does it. The guy's been a rock this entire time, and he's almost gotten younger with age here as you look at what he's done with Marchand and Pasternak, and just, again, that ability to be that defensive piece as well by putting up all those points at the same time. So for me, again, as a guy who's a big fan, growing up watching him, I really would like to see Patrice Bergeron win. But again, you look at this award, could go to either one. I'm not going to be upset either way.
Yeah, between the 3 finalists here, I think this might be the toughest award to really decide who is the one out of those 3. Personally, I chose Couturier mainly because I feel like he's one of the most underrated players in the league. And I'd like to see him get the recognition that, he kind of deserves. Out of the 3, he actually had the highest face-off win percentage, which is very surprising when you think of Bergeron and O'Reilly. And as well, he led the 3 in hits and a couple other aspects as well. Eric, it's always a pleasure getting to chat with hockey with you. Thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Great conversation, and glad to do it.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks very much, Jasmine. Taking a look at temperatures right now, still sitting at that 23-degree mark right now. 22 out in Edmonton, a little bit cooler in those northern parts right now in Athabasca, Whitecourt, and in Jasper, sitting at 21 degrees. Rocky Mountain House sitting at 24 right now, while Edson sits at 25 right now. As we move over into the southern, in the Saskatchewan areas, 24 out in North Battleford and Meadow Lake, 25 for both Melfort and in Prince Albert, and 26 degrees out in Saskatoon. Now, as we make our way north to the northern areas right now, the Loche and Buffalo Narrows sitting at 25 degrees, LaRange sitting at 26, 24 degrees out for Flin Flon. Walston Lake, pretty cool right now, sitting at 23 right now. Now, as we make our way over to the northern areas right now in Alberta, Uranium City, of course, sitting at 26 in the far north region there. Grand Prairie and Slave Lake, less than in the 20-degree mark there, sitting at 19 degrees there. 23 out in Peace River in High Level right now, 21 for Fort Chipewyan, and 20 degrees out in Fort McMurray. Now, as we take a look at the southern areas right now, very warm in Medicine Hat, sitting at 30 degrees right now. Lethbridge not far behind, sitting at 28 right now. 24 in Coronation and Calgary right now, and 26 degrees right now for Banff. Now, as we look over in southern Saskatchewan right now, 25 out in Swift Current, 24 for both Regina and in Kindersley, 23 also out in Yorkton and in Estevan and Moose Jaw. The warmer of the group there, sitting at 26 degrees. So here's what we see across the rest of the country here. Winnipeg, of course, they've had some fairly warm temperatures, but they're dropping down a little bit today with that high at 23 degrees with mostly cloud coverage and a bit of sun there. Quebec City sitting at 22 right now. Toronto sitting with mostly cloud coverage at 24 degrees. Halifax sitting at 27 right now, and St. John sitting at 23 with mostly clouds and a bit of sun there. Now, as we move out west into Vancouver, fairly warm right now. So we're sitting at 26 degrees, one of the warmer areas into the western side here of the country. 24 up in Yellowknife and 18 degrees out in Whitehorse right now. Now, as we take a look at temperatures for tomorrow, we will see a 26-degree daytime high for us here in Lloydminster, with a possibility of some thunder showers happening throughout the day tomorrow, where we could possibly see maybe up to a couple millimeters of rain. 25 degrees for Marwayne and Vermilion tomorrow. 24 for Vegreville and Edmonton as you go down Highway 16 there. 23 for St. Paul, Bonnyville, Cold Lake, and in Lac La Biche as well. And then we get down to the Provost Macklin areas, fairly warm as they get close to the 30 mark in Provost, at 29 and 30 in Macklin and in North Battleford. Meadow Lake and St. Walburg sitting at 26 degrees tomorrow, along with Green Lake and Maidstone sitting at 27. So here's what we could see over the next 7 days. As I did mention, the possibility of some showers tomorrow. 27 degrees on Thursday as we get a little warmer, but by the weekend we start to drop down a little bit with that Friday to high of 23 degrees with mostly sun and a bit of cloud coverage. So we drop just shy of 20 degrees on Saturday with that high of 19. 22 for Sunday, and as we get to Monday, mostly sun with all sun, with very warm temperatures at 26 degrees and 26 on Tuesday as well. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
everybody. I'm joined once again with Becca Lawrence from the Lloydminster and District SPCA. How are you doing this week, Becca?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good over here at the SPCA. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. And who do we got here today?
This lovely lady, she looks a little grumpy, but this lovely lady here is Grizio. So as I was kind of saying earlier, you know, I can't remember which language it is, but it just means gray in a different language. And so yeah, initially I think we kind of named her that because in the beginning she was a little bit cranky. So it's not the prettiest name, but she's really come out of her shell and she's quite the happy girl now.
Well, she does look like she's quite the friendly little girl. So last week you had mentioned that you guys did have quite an influx of cats. How are you guys doing for cat numbers? Did you have any adoptions go out this week? Are you still, you know, pretty full? How are things going for you guys there?
Yeah, you know, we're doing pretty good. Like we still have lots of cats. You know, we have our fosters that are going to be coming in here right away. So we're going to be filling up again on more kittens that are out hanging out until they're big enough. But yeah, you know, last week we did 12 adoptions, which was really nice. You know, it's nice to kind of see a bit of a bigger number. You know, we're kind of between the 8 and 10 range, so it's nice to see it climbing. So we kind of hope that it continues in that direction.
Well, that's great to hear. So lots of cats getting adopted at the SPCA, but there are still lots available. So if you want to find yourself a little cat friend to hang out with, certainly stop on by. And Becca, you had mentioned off camera that you guys got quite a few dogs in this week, and your dog numbers are on the rise. So,
Yeah.
you know, what kind of dogs do we have available for adoption right now?
So I mean, currently we only have the couple. Like we have one that's out in foster. Her name is Marley. She's a pit bull cross, and she went out to foster because she was quite scared of pretty much everything. So we sent her out to foster, and she went and hung out with some more dogs. And you know, she really has come out of her shell quite a bit. So we're really happy with that. So we think she'll be ready to come back to the shelter and go out for adoption soon. But yeah, other than that, we have Shelby. She's our white pit bull, you know, and she, you know, she's still one of our longer residents, a bit of a special case. So we're trying to find the right home for her. And then, yeah, then just a kind of a mixture of the rest that have all joined us. So we got a couple shepherd crosses, we got a husky in here, you know, we've got quite a few. So if anybody wants to come and take a look, they are definitely welcome to book an appointment with us today.
Well, that's good news for anybody who's out looking for a dog right now, because you guys have a wide variety available. And I know every week I always ask you, you know, if you guys have any plans for fundraising coming up, and I know it's always difficult, you know, in this day and age with the pandemic and everything going on. But what do you guys have going on as far as ways to raise funds right now? Do you guys have any plans or anything coming up?
Yeah, we are always we're trying to figure out new and interesting ways to come up with ideas. But you know, with our smaller staff, it is a little bit tougher sometimes, especially kind of right now with trying to figure out how to do it. But you know, we're really relying on our through donating through our website or coming in and donating. We've had lots of donations coming in through the mail, which is really nice as well too. So yeah, that as of right now, we are still really relying donating through website or coming into the shelter to see us really quick as well too.
All right, so if anybody out there is looking for a pet, the SPCA has lots available, cats, dogs, whatever you need. As well, they are always looking for donations, so if anybody out there would like to help out, you know, make sure that these animals have a safe place to go, you know, the SPCA is always accepting donations on their website. So thank you once again for speaking with us this week, Becca, and we will see you again next week.
Perfect, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Manage your waste and recyclables with Quick Pick Waste Disposal. 100% locally owned and proud to serve and support the communities we call home. Quick Pick, the convenient solution to avoid pollution.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Joining us today is Adrian Christofferson, the office manager for Grace United Church. How are you, Adrian?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you today?
I'm very good.
Good.
With COVID-19, how exactly is the church having its services and ceremonies at the moment?
Well, our services have, unfortunately, we've always been online. Not always, I should say. For the last at least 2 years, we've been online with Facebook. So fortunately, it wasn't a whole big shift for us. We already had the video and the sound and everything set up, and we had the account set up. I basically just added on Zoom for people that can't watch using their Facebook. So if they can't log on to Facebook or don't have it, it just gives another option to watch. So fortunately, we've already had that. The worship team is primarily just Kathy, Reverend Kathy, myself, a piano player, and sometimes we'll have another voice or two, but a fairly small worship team. And then as far as other kind of ceremonies and things, that's where it's been really tricky. We have had to postpone and change some weddings and baptisms, and we have a memorial service this week that's going to be very different, with very, very few people lumped into little groups, kind of spread all over the church. So still able to do a little bit of stuff, but most of it's online.
Oh, okay. And can you explain more on what programs the church has had to suspend during this time?
Oh man, we have our on our announcements page on our website, there's a huge number of events that we do. Fortunately, moving into summer, it's not quite as much, but we have had to postpone our homework club, like our homework group on Tuesday nights, and our Meals and More on Monday mornings, and all of our music programs. We had a play school running that was obviously shut down when we closed the doors in March. So a lot of those. Our outreach program is one that it suffered a little bit in the way that we can't do an intake with the people, our vulnerable people, and actually get a good impression from them of what they need. So right now we're still able to at least hand groceries through the door. So with the help of the Olive Tree, we're still able to supply groceries and food security for people in the city. So.
And what is also happening with your outreach programs at the moment?
So for the most part, like I said, most of it's kind of just come to a bit of a standstill. Wednesdays, we still offer our outreach from 1 to 3. That's where people can come down, and I was saying with the Olive Tree, they're able to pick up some fresh groceries, some fresh foods, some canned goods, and at least, again, that food security sort of helping them out. And for the rest of it, it's mostly turned to being online. So we reach out to our seniors in homes or our vulnerable people that way, or people that are shut in and a bit on the lonely side. We reach out to them with our phones and call them, and sometimes go and do the distance, stand out on the doorstep and have a conversation if they need that kind of one-on-one time. And outside of that, unfortunately, it's all kind of it's just turned into online, Facebook chats, emails, phone calls.
For residents that don't know, Grace United Church is still open though?
Our doors are locked technically, but we are still here. We are still functioning as a building, as the kind of the soil itself. There's just the two of us in here. So if people need to call and ask for information, or they need to find something on the website for our parishioners, for our congregation members here, I've been providing a little technical support over the phone. But yeah, we're operational. We're just not open for people to come in and out of the building all day. Yeah.
And I know the church has posted about the COVID-19 update on the website. Is there anything else you'd like to add that has changed since then?
Not really. There hasn't been a ton of changes at all. The interesting thing about COVID is it's going to change, has helped us kind of change sort of what we're going to talk about as far as spread for cold and flu season. So it's actually kind of helped us put a few things in place like that. So I guess that's a small change, but at this point, we're not foreseeing any services opening the doors on any official basis until the middle of September, or possibly sooner, but we're not going to be reevaluating it until about mid-September, unfortunately. But so people are always still able to call.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish best of luck to Grace United Church, especially through this pandemic.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and happy to be here.
All right, taking one last look here at your weather forecast. We could see some thunder showers starting in the later parts of overnight tonight, and then heading into tomorrow as well, where we could see that into the afternoon tomorrow with that 40% chance of some showers at that high of 26. We also could possibly see some showers for Thursday as well, where we could get a couple millimeters of rain there. Even though we show a 25% chance, there is still likely, according to the satellite radar maps, we could see some more rain coming into Thursday. Now, as we head into Friday, we'll have a little bit of a break from the rain there with 23 degrees with mostly sun and a few clouds clouds, and we drop down 3 degrees for Saturday with that high of 20, and then we go back to 23 degrees for Sunday with mostly clear and a bit of sun there, and then we get all clear and nice sunny day for Monday next week with that high of 26 degrees and then a high of 27 for Tuesday. We usually average around 23 degrees, so we're a little bit over with these numbers for this 7-day forecast, and we're around the 11-degree mark for the daytime low for the averages. So we're again over those numbers, but we could possibly see some rain continuing on over the next several days.
Thanks for joining us for Primetime Local News. Have a great night.